Have you ever quietly wondered why so many older folks who just a few years ago seemed perfectly fine pass away before they even reach 82? They weren't in the hospital, they weren't battling cancer or recovering from surgery. Their hearts didn't give out suddenly, and there was no big accident. They just slowly faded. Quietly. Almost like a candle that ran out of wax, not with a flame, but a quiet flicker. I've heard this question asked gently in hallways, in waiting rooms, even whispered between friends. He was doing fine, wasn't he? She still walked to church every Sunday. What happened? And I've asked it myself again and again across more than 30 years of caring for older adults, especially those living on their own. And I want to tell you something now, from the bottom of my heart as a doctor, and also simply as a fellow human being. It's not always the illnesses we think. It's not just the heart or the lungs or the numbers on a chart. There's something else, something quieter but no less real. What if I told you it's the loss of something we rarely talk about, something we're taught to ignore as we age? Not out of malice, but out of misunderstanding, out of shame, or simply because no one ever gave us permission to care about it. Over the years, I've sat with many patients in their 70s and 80s, men and women who still had sparkle in their eyes, but whose energy, resilience, and spirit seemed to be dimming. And as we spoke, not just about blood pressure or cholesterol, but about life, something kept appearing. A quiet theme, a pattern, a gentle but steady disconnection from the body, from the joy of sensation, from the feeling of aliveness that comes not from medicine, but from within. I know that might sound surprising, maybe even strange at first, but it's true. Our bodies are wired, not just for feeling, for connection, for pleasure, for comfort and touch and warmth. But at some point in life, many people begin to believe that those things no longer belong to them, that after a certain age, we're supposed to quietly give up that part of being human. And when that happens, not just in the body, but in the heart, it has ripple effects, real ones. Science has shown us again and again, when we stop engaging with sensation and connection, changes begin inside us. Circulation slows, hormones shift, the brain stops receiving the signals it once did, and over time, even memory, sleep, and emotional resilience begin to weaken. I once cared for a patient, Mr. Franklin, 79, lived alone, walked every morning, read books, never smoked. His labs looked perfect, but something had shifted. He told me one day, "Doc, I just don't feel alive anymore." Not sad, not sick, just faded. And when we gently explored more, he admitted he hadn't felt true physical comfort or even really thought about his body in nearly a decade. That moment stayed with me because he wasn't alone. So many older adults silently accept that this is just how aging is. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be? Today I want to gently reopen that door, to offer you not just facts but understanding. To speak not as someone holding a clipboard, but as someone who believes deeply that you deserve to feel alive, not just to exist, but to truly live. In just a moment, I'm going to share with you a part of health that's been overlooked, misunderstood, and even avoided. But it's also one of the most powerful ways to preserve your vitality, your independence, and your joy, well into your 80s and beyond. You don't need fancy treatments. You don't need to become someone else. Everything you need is already within you. It simply needs to be remembered. Let's gently begin with something no one talks about, but everyone feels. The quiet epidemic of disconnection from our own bodies, and how it slowly takes away more than we realize. As we move into our 60s, 70s, and beyond, many of us quietly begin to drift away from something deeply human, our connection to physical sensation, to comfort, to pleasure, not because we no longer need it, not because it disappears, but because somewhere along the way we start to believe a quiet lie. That part of life is for the young. That kind of closeness, that kind of touch, that kind of feeling, it's no longer for me. And I want to say this gently, but clearly that belief, though common, is not true. Not medically, not emotionally, not humanly. You see, our culture often sends messages that aging means fading, that to grow older is to grow less emotional, less sensual, less connected. We're told, sometimes in subtle ways, that we're no longer supposed to feel desire or seek touch, that it's inappropriate or shameful or simply no longer possible. And over time, those messages take root. So we begin to turn away from our bodies. We stop listening to them. We stop honoring the parts of ourselves that still long to feel warmth, closeness, even gentle pleasure. But here's the truth. Your need for connection, for comfort, for sensation doesn't have an expiration date. It may change, it may soften, but it doesn't vanish. And when we ignore it, not by choice but by belief, something inside us begins to shift. Medically speaking, that shift is not just emotional, it's physical. When we stop engaging with our bodies, we see changes that ripple through multiple systems. Blood flow becomes sluggish, hormonal balance begins to tilt, the nervous system receives less stimulation. And as a result, people often begin to feel not sick, but dimmed. Energy fades, sleep becomes shallow, mood declines, sometimes turning into quiet depression. Memory grows hazy, and even the immune system, that precious shield against illness, becomes less responsive. I've seen it again and again, people who were once vibrant, laughing, moving, social, beginning to pull back. They may not even realize it's happening, they just know they're more tired than usual, more forgetful, less interested in going out, less interested in themselves. And when we talk, really talk, what often comes out is this: I just don't feel like myself anymore. That phrase, in my experience, is often a signal, not of disease, but of disconnection. Disconnection from the parts of life that used to bring joy, touch, closeness, intimacy, and yes, even moments of pleasure. And I want to pause here and speak from the heart. My dear friends, your body is still yours. It still wants to be loved, touched, remembered. It still has the ability to feel, to awaken, to respond, even if gently, even if slowly. Feeling alive in your body isn't something reserved for your 20s. It's a birthright that travels with you, no matter your age. And here's something else I've seen. When someone begins to reconnect just a little with sensation, with care, with comfort, other parts of their health begin to lift. They sleep deeper, they smile more, they begin to move again, they eat better without being told. Their energy returns, not in a rush, but like a sunrise, because it's all connected. When you feel more like yourself, you treat yourself better, you listen to your body, you move with kindness, you begin to heal in quiet, beautiful ways. So no, it's not about trying to turn back the clock. It's about remembering that you are still here, still alive, still worthy of comfort and joy. And that brings us to something few people talk about, but many feel deeply: the role of personal, private, physical pleasure, even the kind that doesn't involve anyone else. Let's take a gentle step forward together and explore why solo connection with your own body, especially after 60, might just be one of the most powerful tools you already have to protect your mind, your heart, and your health. Let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening inside the body when we experience physical sensation, especially the kind that brings comfort, warmth, or even gentle pleasure. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to overwhelm you with medical jargon, but I do think it's important to understand, in a simple and respectful way, that your body responds to this kind of touch and attention in ways that are not just emotional, but deeply biological. When we engage in any form of physical connection, whether it's a hug, holding someone's hand, or even a private moment of personal touch, our body starts a quiet but powerful chain reaction. First, blood flow increases. That may sound basic, but it's incredibly important. Increased circulation sends fresh oxygen and nutrients to your heart, your brain, your muscles, even to your skin. It helps keep tissues alive, functioning, and nourished. This kind of blood flow isn't just about sexual health. It's about whole body health. Your brain gets sharper, your muscles stay stronger, even wounds heal faster. Next, the body begins to release something called endorphins. You may have heard of these. They're often called the feel-good hormones. They help ease physical tension, reduce pain, and soothe the nervous system. In short, they help you relax, they help you sleep, and they ease that quiet background stress so many people carry, especially as they get older and life gets more complicated. But that's not all. There's also a small natural rise in testosterone, yes, even in women. This hormone isn't just about sex, it plays a big role in keeping bones strong, muscles toned, and moods steady. Many people don't realize this, but low testosterone in both men and women is linked to fatigue, irritability, and even feelings of low self-worth. And while hormone therapy isn't right for everyone, simple physical pleasure, yes, even by yourself, can help encourage your body to produce what it still can, naturally. Now let's talk about the brain. When you engage with your body in a gentle, connected way, you activate multiple parts of the brain at once. One area helps regulate memory, another helps manage emotions. Still others are tied to creativity, movement, and decision-making. In other words, moments of physical connection light up the brain like a city at night. I've seen this in real life. 2 patients, both 75 years old, one had quietly continued a gentle, private connection with her body. Nothing extreme, just small rituals of self-care and personal touch several times a week. The other had not. She believed, like many do, that those parts of her life were behind her. The difference in their health was striking. The first had steadier sleep, a brighter mood, more interest in life. Her memory was sharper and her immune system, according to routine checkups, was functioning beautifully. The second, she was fatigued, anxious, had difficulty sleeping, and had caught every cold that came around that winter. Now, of course, many things can affect health, but in my experience, this piece, this forgotten part of self-care, is too often overlooked. It's not a magic cure, but it is a missing link. You see, reconnecting with your body isn't about trying to be young again. It's about honoring the systems that are still working for you and giving them the stimulation they need to thrive. And best of all, you don't need anyone else to begin. This is about your body, your healing, your quiet sense of aliveness. So if your body is still capable of giving you these benefits, the question becomes, how can you begin to gently explore this part of your life again? Not awkwardly, not fearfully, but with kindness, confidence, and care. That's what we're going to look at next, a step-by-step method designed specifically for older adults to help you safely and comfortably restore your connection with your body. Let's take that next step together. Let's talk about some of the quiet beliefs many older adults carry deep inside. Beliefs that may have come from childhood, from culture, or from a time when people didn't talk about these things openly. These beliefs aren't anyone's fault. They were passed down, often with love and good intention. But today, they may be doing more harm than good. The first belief sounds something like this: I'm too old for that. My body doesn't need it anymore. This is something I hear often, especially from people in their 70s or 80s. And while I understand where it comes from, I want to offer a gentle truth. Just because the body changes with age doesn't mean the need for comfort, connection, and yes, physical pleasure goes away. It may show up differently. It may ask for more patience, more slowness, more tenderness. But the need itself, the longing to feel good in your body, to feel whole, is still there. When people stop listening to that part of themselves, they often begin to feel less alive. Not because their bodies are done, but because they've stopped giving themselves permission to feel. Now, the second belief is one that carries a lot of quiet shame. That's inappropriate. Touching myself, that's something I should be ashamed of. Many of you were raised in a time when this topic was never discussed, or if it was, it came with guilt, secrecy, or fear. So it's no surprise that some people still carry that discomfort today. But I want to say this clearly and kindly. Caring for your own body, in private with respect and gentleness, is not something to be ashamed of. It's an act of self-love. It's part of staying connected to your health, your emotions, and your humanity. Think about it this way. If touching your own shoulder to relieve tension is fine, why wouldn't a warm, gentle touch elsewhere be just as acceptable, especially if it brings comfort, joy, or peace? Your body belongs to you. You've carried it through decades of life. You deserve to feel good in it without guilt. Now, the third belief is a bit more subtle, but still very common. I should conserve my energy. If I avoid those kinds of feelings, I'll stay stronger. This idea that sexual energy must be saved or withheld is rooted in very old thinking, and while there are certainly times to rest and restore, the idea that avoiding pleasure makes us healthier has not held up in modern medicine. In fact, the opposite is often true. Studies show that gentle sexual activity, including solo touch, can help regulate hormones, boost immune function, and improve heart health. It can also reduce stress, support better sleep, and keep the nervous system more balanced. So instead of using up your strength, these moments of connection actually replenish it. I once had a patient, Miss Eleanor, 82 years old. She had lost her husband many years ago and had never thought about this part of her life again. When we gently talked, she admitted she still missed the feeling of closeness, but felt it was wrong to seek it alone. After some gentle encouragement, she began exploring again, not out of desperation, but out of kindness to herself. Within weeks, her sleep improved, her moods lifted, and she smiled more, something her daughter mentioned without even knowing what had changed. That's the quiet power of letting go of outdated beliefs and choosing to reconnect. These old ideas don't have to define the rest of your life. You are not too old. You are not doing anything wrong. You are simply remembering a part of yourself that deserves care. And the good news is, it's never too late to begin again. You can start slowly, gently, with curiosity and compassion. No pressure, no guilt, just you choosing to come home to your body again. And if you're wondering how to do that, how to begin without fear or confusion, I'd love to walk with you. Next, I'll guide you step by step through a gentle, practical method designed for people just like you. It's called the restoration method, and it's all about helping you reconnect safely, lovingly, and at your own pace. Now that we've cleared away some of the old misunderstandings, I'd love to offer you something gentle and practical, something you can start today, in your own time, in your own space. I call it the restoration method. It's not a program. It's not a chore. It's simply a quiet process of reconnecting with your body step by step in a way that respects who you are now, not who you were 30 years ago. This method was created with older adults in mind, with tenderness, patience, and deep care. Let's begin with the first step, preparation. This might sound simple, but it matters. Find a time when you won't be interrupted, maybe in the morning when the house is still, or in the evening after you've had a warm bath. Choose a space that feels comfortable and private. Dim the lights, warm the room if needed, and have a soft blanket or robe nearby. This is your time. This small act of making space tells your body, you matter, you're safe. So you're allowed to feel good. The second step is deep relaxation. Start by sitting or lying in a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you'd like. Take a slow, gentle breath in and then let it out just as slowly. Do that again, breathing in calm, breathing out any tension. Let your shoulders soften, let your hands unclench. Feel the ground beneath you supporting your weight. You don't need to do anything yet. Just be. This stillness is powerful. It allows your nervous system to settle, your mind to quiet, and your body to open to sensation again. The third step is awakening sensation. Begin to explore your body with gentle, open curiosity. You might place your hands on your chest, your belly, your thighs. Let the touch be light and warm. No expectations, no goal. Feel the texture of your skin, the rhythm of your breath under your hands. Notice what feels comforting, what feels awake. Even if the sensations are faint at first, that's okay. Like a garden that hasn't been watered in a while, sometimes it just takes time. The fourth step is intentional stimulation. If you feel ready, begin to touch yourself in a way that feels nurturing or gently arousing. There's no right or wrong way. What matters is that you move slowly, with care, not rushing, not performing, just feeling. If you've been disconnected from this part of yourself for years, please know it's okay to move at your own pace. You are not behind. You are simply reconnecting. Let sensation build naturally. Let your breath guide you. And if you don't feel much at first, don't be discouraged. even your attention alone is healing. Finally, the last step, gratitude and integration. Afterward, whether the experience was quiet or intense, take a few moments to rest. Place your hand over your heart or your belly. Whisper something kind to yourself like, "Thank you," or "I'm still here," or simply, "I love this body." This closing moment helps anchor the experience. It tells your body, "You are not forgotten. I'm listening to you again." I like to compare this practice to gently moving a stiff joint or stretching a muscle that hasn't been used in years. At first, it may feel awkward or uncertain, but over time, with patience and kindness, it begins to awaken. It remembers. So too does your body. So too do your emotions. And in that remembering, your health, your whole health, begins to shift. You might find that after just a few times, you're sleeping better, that your mood is lighter, that you walk through the day with a bit more ease, more softness in your shoulders, more presence in your step. And while this method is simple, it can also be profound. Of course, no journey is ever perfect. There may be moments of hesitation, of doubt, or discomfort, but those are just part of the process. And in the next part, I'll gently walk with you through the most common challenges people face when they begin reconnecting with their bodies. So you'll know you're not alone, and you'll have the tools to stay steady on this beautiful path. My dear friends, if there's one thing I hope you carry with you from our time together today, it's this. Your body is not old. It is wise. It is not broken. It is waiting for you to remember how to love it again. Not like you did at 20 or 40, but like someone who truly understands what it means to be alive. You see, aging is not the end of the road. It is a new chapter, perhaps the most tender, most honest chapter of your story. A time when you no longer have to prove anything, chase anything, or pretend to be anyone else. It is the time to return to yourself, to care for your body, not because it looks a certain way, but because it has carried you this far. To touch your skin, not with judgment, but with gratitude. To breathe and feel and rest, not as a duty, but as a birthright. Sometimes we wait too long to give ourselves that kindness. We think, one day I'll make time for myself. But time, as we know, doesn't always wait. So maybe today, just a little, you allow yourself to start. Start by listening. Start by softening. Start by remembering that you are still here. You are not invisible. You are not done. There is still joy to feel. There is still music in the body, even if the notes are slower now. And maybe, just maybe, this small act of turning toward yourself is the first of many that bring a quiet spark back into your days. Not because you're trying to go back, but because you're ready to move forward with softness, strength, and spirit. If any part of what we've shared today touched something in your heart, if it made you reflect or smile or even feel a little less alone, I'd truly love to hear from you. You can leave a comment if you'd like. Sometimes just sharing a small thought can feel like exhaling after holding your breath too long. And if you'd like to continue this journey together, I invite you gently to subscribe so we can keep meeting like this, quietly, kindly, with purpose, because you're not walking this path alone. We are here together. Take care of your body, take care of your heart, and remember there is still more life to live, more warmth to feel, more of you to come home to. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You deserve that.